From the surface, the ocean feels known. It has moods we recognize: calm, violent, reflective. It carries weather, trade, memory. Humans have crossed it for millennia and mapped its surface so thoroughly that it appears conquered. Even its depths are often imagined as a single idea: cold, dark, empty. A place where nothing much happens. That idea does not survive contact with the Mariana Trench. The trench is not merely deep. It is an environment where the rules that govern surface life lose relevance. Nearly 11 kilometers beneath the waves, pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres. This is not pressure that squeezes gently or gradually. It is pressure that dictates molecular behavior, that determines whether proteins fold correctly, whether membranes function, whether life is possible at all. Here, water is heavy, movement is expensive, mistakes are fatal. Sunlight disappears long before this depth. The last traces of blue fade into black kilometers above the trench floor. Below that point, darkness is absolute and permanent. There is no cycle, no dawn, no dusk, no seasonal variation. Time is marked not by light, but by chemistry and geology. The temperature hovers just above freezing. By every assumption carried down from the surface, this should be a biological desert. No light means no photosynthesis. No photosynthesis means no food. No food means no life. This logic is neat, comforting, and wrong. Along the fractured seams of the trench floor, where tectonic plates grind and strain against one another, the Earth leaks energy. Seawater seeps downward into cracks, traveling kilometers beneath the seafloor. There, it encounters heat from magma and chemically reacts with the surrounding rock. Metals dissolve. Sulfides accumulate. The water becomes transformed. When it rises back into the ocean, it does not emerge gently. It erupts. Hydrothermal vents form where this superheated, mineral-rich fluid meets the near-freezing abyssal water. The sudden temperature change causes dissolved minerals to precipitate, building chimney-like structures that can grow meters tall. They vent dark plumes that resemble smoke, though there is no combustion here. This is not fire. It is chemistry made visible. Temperatures within the vent fluid can exceed 400 degrees Celsius. Under surface conditions, this would mean violent boiling. At this depth, pressure prevents it. Heat exists here in ways that defy intuition. Liquid remains liquid. Energy remains trapped. Around each vent, conditions change over centimeters. One step closer means lethal heat and toxicity. One step farther means starvation and cold. Life exists only in the narrow gradients between extremes. And yet, life organizes itself here with astonishing precision. At the base of these ecosystems are microorganisms, bacteria and archaea that do not rely on sunlight. Instead, they use chemosynthesis, harvesting energy from chemical reactions involving hydrogen sulfide, methane, iron, and other compounds emerging from the vents. These microbes convert chemical energy into organic matter, building the foundation of an entire food web. They are small. They are invisible to the naked eye. They are everything. Microbial mats coat rock surfaces, cling to vent chimneys, and drift in the surrounding water. They turn poison into sustenance. Without them, nothing larger could survive. With them, complexity becomes possible. Around the vents, life gathers in improbable abundance. Giant tube worms rise from the seafloor in dense clusters, some growing over 2 meters long. They have no mouths, no stomachs, no intestines. Instead, their bodies are dominated by a single organ that houses symbiotic bacteria. These bacteria perform chemosynthesis internally, feeding the worm directly. The worm provides shelter and circulation. It is not an individual organism so much as a negotiated alliance. Clams and mussels crowd the vent fields, their tissues infused with bacteria that detoxify sulfides while extracting energy from them. Shrimp swarm in shimmering clouds, their eyes reduced or modified, sensing heat and chemistry rather than light. Crabs patrol the periphery, adapted to pressure that would crush surface species instantly. Nothing here is wasted. Nothing is redundant. Every organism is shaped by constraint. Proteins are pressure stable. Cell membranes are reinforced with specialized lipids. Enzymes function where heat and toxicity would unravel ordinary biology. Evolution here does not favor speed or abundance. It favors endurance. These ecosystems are fragile in one sense and brutally resilient in another. Hydrothermal vents are temporary. They can shut down without warning as tectonic activity shifts. A chimney collapses. A fracture seals. Heat flow reroutes. When that happens, the energy source vanishes and the ecosystem collapses with it. Entire communities can disappear in years or even months. There is no adaptation that saves them. There is only dispersal. Larvae drift on deep ocean currents, sometimes for years, seeking another vent. Most will fail. A few will succeed. That is enough. Life here does not demand permanence. It accepts turnover as the cost of existence. Time moves differently in the trench. Growth is slow. Metabolism is efficient to the point of austerity. Change happens on geological timescales, punctuated by sudden extinction events caused not by predators or competition, but by the shifting of rock beneath the planet's skin. And yet, these ecosystems persist. They persist because they are not accidents. They are expressions of planetary physics. Where heat meets water and chemistry allows imbalance, life organizes itself around that opportunity. The implications extend far beyond Earth. Hydrothermal vent ecosystems may resemble the earliest life on this planet. Before oxygen filled the atmosphere, before sunlight powered ecosystems, life may have emerged around similar vents in ancient oceans. If so, then the Mariana Trench is not just alien, it is ancestral. A living archive of how life begins when conditions are harsh and energy is scarce. This reframes how we search for life elsewhere. Moons like Europa and Enceladus hide oceans beneath ice, warmed from below by tidal heating. No sunlight reaches those waters, but sunlight may not be necessary. The trench teaches us that life does not require stars overhead, only energy gradients and time. From the surface, the deep ocean looks empty. From within, it is crowded with persistence. The Mariana Trench is not a graveyard. It is a boundary condition, a place where life reveals how little it cares about comfort, visibility, or human expectation. These organisms do not know the sun exists. They do not know continents or skies. Their universe is chemical, pressurized, and dark. They live because the Earth itself is alive beneath its crust. Hydrothermal vents are not anomalies. They are pressure valves for planetary energy, scars where heat escapes and chemistry follows. Life gathers there not because it is invited, but because physics allows it. In the deepest place on Earth, far from light and air, ecosystems thrive without permission. They do not need to be discovered to exist. They do not change when observed. They are not impressed by attention. They simply endure. The Mariana Trench does not host monsters. It hosts solutions. Solutions to survival without light. Solutions to life under crushing pressure. Solutions written not in behavior or intelligence, but in chemistry and form. These ecosystems are alien only because our frame of reference is small. They remind us that life is not delicate in the way we imagine. It is opportunistic, persistent, and indifferent to aesthetics. Where energy flows, life will attempt to organize itself again and again, even in the dark. And so, in the deepest silence on Earth, around vents that bleed heat and metal into freezing water, life continues its quiet work. Not dramatic, not visible from above, not concerned with us, just existing, because the planet allows it.